This is the regular board meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, October 17th, 2022. And we'll call the meeting to order and call the roll, please, Joel.
Director Roberson.
Here.
There's
Director Anderson.
here.
Director Malik.
Yes.
Director Riley. Director Edwards.
Here.
Going back to Director Riley.
He'll be right on.
Vice Chair Adams.
Here.
Chair Paul.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all directors are present.
I'm present.
Yes. Director Riley is definitely present. Okay. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you don't mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And
the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
There are not.
Okay. And this is a time for public comment. Joelle, would you please invite the public to want to address the board?
Yes, the Board of Directors welcomes any member of the public wishing to address the board on the consent calendar, information items, closed session items, or matters not listed on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length. If you're calling in, make sure you hit the *9 button, or if you're joining us via your electronic device, please raise your hand. Give it a couple seconds here. And Sarah, can you screen share the timer? And at this time, I would like to invite Michael Baer. Michael, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Esteemed board, I just wanted to say hi and thank you for all of your work. We're in deep now. There's a lot going on, and I just know that I'm thinking about, I know you're carrying a whole lot, and I just want to thank you for everything you're doing. And also just, I hope we hear some real detail about the closed session. I hope we can, I'm just requesting we get as much detail as you guys can give us about what happened in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Chair Paul, I see no raised hands, so I return this back to the board.
Thank you. So now we have our consent calendar. I would like to pull item 4 from the consent calendar just to be able to make a brief statement so that to call the public's attention to this small but useful project that we're supporting. Are there any other items that you wish to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, then is there a motion to adopt items?
I'll move to adopt items 1 through 6 with timeout for a conference on 4.
1 through 3, yes.
3, I second that. For the correction, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a roll call vote on the motion to adopt the first 3 items on the consent agenda.
Chair Paul, before doing so, would we like to ask our members of the public if they would like to pull an item from the consent calendar?
Thank you for reminding me. Absolutely. The public also has a chance to pull any items from the consent agenda.
Yes, so if you would like to pull an item from the consent calendar, please raise your hand. Chair Paul, I see no raised hands.
Okay. And we can proceed to vote.
Director Edwards,
Approval?
Director Riley,
Aye.
Director Malik,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
yes,
Director Roberson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Adams,
aye.
Chair Paul.
Yes,
The motion is adopted.
thank you. So item 4 is it addresses an application by the city of Monterey for a very small stormwater diversion project. And our district engineer, Maureen Hamilton, is here. And I'd be grateful, Maureen, if you could just give a brief summary for the public of what this is.
Of course, thank you, Chair Paul. Maureen, before, Tricia Wotan is on as an attendee. Is she on for this item?
She's here for the absolute wonderful support she provides. You bet.
Okay, so if there's any questions to the city, she is available and we can move her over at that time.
Very
That
good,
would be
thank
great.
you.
Oh, she's been moved over. Okay. Go ahead, Maureen.
Okay. The city of Monterey has a Olivier Street stormwater diversion project. Olivier Street location is downtown by near Custom House Plaza. The area is urbanized, highly populated, and has a considerable amount of pavement that feeds in this 150-acre drainage area into a storm drain. That storm drain currently discharges untreated to the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. This project would create a diversion for the stormwater to send it to the Monterey One Water Treatment Plant via the sanitary sewer. That would allow it to be treated to potable use standards, as we all know, through the Pure Water Monterey project, and become available as potable water supply for the public. The benefits of this are really multifaceted. We obviously have the storm drain diversion to sanitary sewer, which helps both wildlife and recreation area. It provides additional water supply, and with the drainage area being located in a disadvantaged community, it allows that disadvantaged community to have its pollution footprint reduced. And lastly, this project was identified through the Stormwater Resource Plan for the Monterey Peninsula area as one of 6 projects to receive a project description and a benefit analysis. So we're very pleased to be aligned with both Integrated Regional Water Management and the Stormwater Resource Plan. Are there any questions?
This sounds like this is not a question, but a comment. It sounds like a really great project to help the community where the stormwater will be collected, as well as cleaning, not avoiding polluting the marine sanctuary. So I'm really glad that we're able to help this project go forward, and I'm grateful to everybody who worked on it. If there are no other comments, I'd like to entertain a motion on item 4. And thank you, Maureen, and thank you, Tricia, for all of your work on this.
Public comment, did I miss it?
We can take public comment now.
Yes, so if you would like to make public comment on this matter, please raise your hand. Sarah, please screen share the timer. And at this time, I would like to invite Susan Schiavone. Susan.
Good evening, board, and thank you, Joelle. I just want to say, great, this is a wonderful project, and I'd like to see more and more of these, because I really think we should capture as much storm water as we can, to recycle as much water as we can, and to not pollute the bay. So bravo, great idea, great job, and I hope there's more of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Chair Paul, I see no raised hands, so I'll return this back to the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Clyde, for the reminder of public comment. Now we can vote.
Director Roberson,
Aye.
Director Malik,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Riley,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Vice Chair Adams,
Aye.
Chair Paul.
Yes,
The motion is adopted.
very good. And now it's time to hear from our general manager.
Yes, before we get into the compliance report, which Joelle, I'll let you run, or do you want me to screen share it?
I'll go ahead and screen
Okay,
share.
hang on though. I've got an announcement to make. We are in the middle of our annual audit. And our auditor Hayashi and Whalen has announced that they are being acquired by the firm Clifton Larson Allen. Clifton Larson Allen is the 8th largest accountancy firm in the nation. Back when there used to be a big 8 and then it got down to a big 4 and kind of backfill. And so they're a large 120 office firm with 7,500 employees. The nearest to us is San Jose. They have San Jose, Walnut Creek, and Novato, I believe, and then down south, a couple in the Los Angeles area. They're also in Reno. So our audit will come out under the new logo and the new name, but it's the same partners and staffers working on it here locally. And then once all the dust clears, sometime next year, we can make a decision whether to retain them as our auditor going forward or go out on the street. But just wanted to give you that heads up since you contracted with Hayashi and Whalen. But here we are in the midst of it. So this will be a necessary continuation of that relationship because they are in the middle of the audit as we speak. So that's just an announcement. Now we can move on to the
One question about that, Dave. Have they or have we done a conflicts check?
I'll talk to Suresh about that. He is on. Yeah, I would have imagined that they would have had to, when they do these things, they probably run down an entire list of potential conflicts. Suresh, do you have anything on that you can add?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was the question? The question was about conflict?
Yeah, were there any, do we do a conflict check with the
the acquiring firm?
acquirer?
Yeah, so they've done all the due diligence as part of the merger. And so the merger is going to be effective November 1st. They've done all the due diligence, and so they have decided that whatever clients Hayashi Whalen had, they are going to continue with those existing clients. And so they've done all the checks and make sure that all of the things are checked out and there's no conflicts or any of those sorts of things.
And so what's the name again of the acquiring, the parent?
It's,
Clifton
Larson Allen. They were formed out of 2 firms in 2012 or 11 that were both, regional but larger firms. I believe they're headquartered out of, it might be Minnesota, somewhere in the Midwest.
Okay, thank you.
And there is a formal letter coming about the merger. It will be coming to us in about a week's time, but this is just, they gave us a heads up before we saw the letter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, we can go to item 5, which is the compliance reporting. The nice thing is this closes out the water year ending September 30th, 2022. So next slide. This one, as you can see, the actual from the Carmel River Basin, which would include table 13 and diversion to ASR, a little over 4,000 acre feet. The effective diversion limit for the year was a combination of 2 different calendar years. So it was 4,110. So obviously it came in under the effective diversion limit. You can see that the Seaside Groundwater Basin exceeds 1,474. We believe, but we have not confirmed that is leveraging some carryover credits that either way, if there were no carryover credits, they will receive a replenishment assessment that they can lay off against some project costs on the water supply. Next slide. Pure Water Monterey recovery, you can see exceeds the 3,500 of annual deliveries and exceeds the target. There's a little bit of carryover between the water year versus the fiscal year. The 3,500 is a per fiscal year basis. But clearly, going into the water year, there was a little bit of a balance of CalAm's own water that they had paid for but not utilized, and so that got pushed into the water year. Sand City desal, you can see, closed out the year at about an average of 10 acre-feet per month, so below desired, but that new intake well has yet not come online and is expected to come in on the spring, so we'll see that changing hopefully next water year. Next slide. So this is production for customer service, kind of splitting things out a little bit differently. The takeaway here is that we ended up, see if I can do math quickly, 125 acre-feet better than last year, which was a bit of a surprise. Probably, we were only at about 40 to 60 better most of the months, but we did have a September with an unusual rain that probably cut back some irrigation that might normally have occurred. This can be seen in the next slide a little more clearly. I showed you this with a dotted line for 2022, suggesting it would be the same. It's actually perceptibly down a little bit from 2021. That's that 125 that I mentioned. But the key takeaway is for 8 years now, we've been in that level zone between 9,500 and 10,000 acre-feet of demand per year. Next slide, please. This is rainfall, and you can see September was hugely, the blue, hugely over the long-term average, which is the maroon color. But of course, as the legend or the axis will tell you, that's only about 0.4 of an inch. But anyway, it looks really good as a bar chart. Next slide, please.
Yes, it does.
And there you can see in the blue, the little September rains over, basically over a 2-day period, late at night and then early the next morning. Again, adding up to just under half an inch. And the red line is the cumulative for basically for the year. And you can see we ended up in a dry year. That means we closed out September as the second dry or critically dry year in a row. So now we are officially in drought, even though people have been speaking as if we've been in drought. Our definition is 2 years of dry or critically dry data on, actually not on precipitation, but on stream flow, unimpaired stream flow, which is the next chart. But we knew we were going to end up there anyway because the long-term averages for August and September are very, very low. And even if we assumed the average, we would have ended up in the dry category. So we're now in drought. We actually weren't in drought until October 1st. But that's a little takeaway that you all now share. Whereas the state, they are in their third dry or critically dry year in a row. So they have a different circumstance than we do on the Monterey Peninsula. And that concludes item 5, the GM's report.
Thank you, Dave. So now we can hear, it's time for directors to report on any
Madam
meetings.
Chairman, there's report from District Council. You miss it because it is never numbered on our agenda. but
I certainly,
Yeah.
how could I? How could I
that's
do
okay.
that?
I'm not sure why it never gets numbered, but it doesn't.
No number,
I'm-
no, you're invisible.
No respect, right? I'd like to report on the closed session that the board had at 5 p.m. All members were in attendance. The board did discuss 3 cases. 2 of them are cases before the California Public Utilities Commission. The first one is an adjudicatory matter 21-11-024, and that's CalAm's application for approval of an amended and restated water purchase agreement relating to the Pure Water Monterey expansion project. I'll go into a little more detail in a moment. The second was a rulemaking case, case number 22-04-003, and that's rulemaking regarding utility acquisition practices. That's not an adjudicatory proceeding. That is a quasi-legislative proceeding. And then finally, there is one item of threatened breach of contract. CalAm is asserting that the storage and recovery agreement and the water purchase agreement between CalAm and the district has been breached, and those items were discussed as well. Cycling back and talking about the details a bit in terms of the water purchase agreement case before the Public Utilities Commission. That case has been divided into multiple phases. Phase 1 is to authorize CalAm to enter into the expansion and to build related CalAm facilities. There is a proposed decision issued by the ALJ in September 30th that would authorize CalAm to proceed. That's in the stage where comments are still being lodged by the parties. Opening comments are due October 20th, reply comments October 25th. There will be a phase 2 of that proceeding, and that is in progress as well. That phase 2 has to do with the CalAm's Monterey Peninsula Water Supply Project, long-term water supply and demand estimates. Evidentiary proceedings are pending. Opening testimony has already been received by the ALJ, but there will be evidentiary proceedings for cross-examination, and that has not yet been set, but we're anticipating that those hearings will be later this month in November and in December. That concludes my report on the water purchase agreement matters.
Excuse me, Dave Laredo, just a clarification, that proceeding is categorized as rate setting, correct?
That's correct.
But yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but it is adjudicatory, but rate setting. Then the utility acquisition practices. This is a longer term inquiry. This is a legislative decision of the commission as to what rules that it should adopt when utilities acquire other utilities. This is more of a workshop format where testimony is provided as to what the rules should be. This is of import to the district because it does affect how CalAm or other utilities value their acquisitions. If they pay a premium to acquire another system, if they acquire a system that is inadequately operated or maintained in its costs. And the questions there are how should the cost be apportioned between the ratepayer and the stockholder? If a premium is paid, who should be paying that? And what effects does that have on ratepayers? There are multiple workshops that are planned for that, the first in December and on into July of next year. And the district is a party to that. With respect to the item of threatened litigation, there was an oral report as to the status of that. There have been multiple meet and confer sessions. There's a requirement to meet and confer on any dispute under those contracts. We have been, and all the parties have been meeting and conferring. It appears that a physical solution is available. and will be able to be implemented to avoid that litigation. The district certainly does not agree that there has been a breach of contract. But at the moment, it appears that if there is a physical solution, it will be capable of being implemented and measured to see if it is effective by April of next year. So we met and conferred just today on this, and we'll be agreeing to a further meet and confer session that's probably going to occur in the spring, probably in April. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for that. Are there questions
yeah,
for General
yes.
Counsel?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Director Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Laredo, nothing from LAFCO and nothing from the taxpayers?
Well, there was no report on that. There are proceedings on calendar in later November and December.
Okay.
I can tell you, we got notice that the State Board of Equalization has accepted our annexation. So there's progress on that front.
Good.
Good. Other questions or comments? Well, I just have a couple of brief ones. And one is that on the rulemaking on acquisitions by water utilities of other water utilities, it adds to the workload of our staff and our attorneys, but you know, we're participating for good reason because of the potential impact on the cost of acquisitions and on the ratepayers. So I think it's a good decision to do the work on that and to participate. And I'm grateful to our general manager and our attorneys for the work they're doing on that. And that's my only comment. Any other comments, George? Did you have a comment? No. Okay.
So you can return to the numbered portions of your agenda.
Well, thank you, General Counsel. Again, my apologies for overlooking your report, your very important report.
No,
Okay.
Joel needs to number him.
Or highlight it or something.
Well,
No, he just needs to number him.
invent something that can be numbered, because right now it's just it's a header. All of the bolded headers on your agenda don't have numbers.
This is true. This is true. The chair just needs to learn how to read the agenda.
Oh, she reads that.
Okay, director's reports on conferences, meetings with other agencies. I know there are some. Supervisor Adams.
Thank you. I think along with many of us, I had the opportunity to go to the Aqua Region 5 meeting that was held just last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess it's been now. And I think there was some very good presentations. I was able to go to the Thursday evening reception at Chivo, and I was pleased because I met a number of the engineers and the people who were members of Region 5, but also several members of the Monterey County Water Resources Agency Board of Directors were there. So I had the opportunity to interact with them in a way that one doesn't usually have a chance to do. So I thought it was really very helpful. And then I was not able to attend the early morning part of the Friday meeting, but I was able to participate in the afternoon, in the later morning and afternoon. So it was a really good meeting. I was very happy to have them all in Monterey, and I think they were pleased to be here as well.
Thank you, Director Riley.
That I can add. I attended the Friday session. I heard Dave present a kind of a hierarchical pyramid of issues and how it culminates in kind of a success story at the end. I mean, the success to be story at the end. But also, I just want to comment that Mary Adams was asked at the very last minute, and she had like 1 minute to prepare to make some comments at the meeting because of a no-show by another panelist. Anyway, I thought she did the county well, and I just want to compliment her on that.
Very true. Director Anderson.
I also attended this meeting. I thought that I've been to the Pure Water Monterey facility before, and that's always very exciting to see because it's really an incredible facility. But I got to see the desal. what do I
Marina
wanna
Coast?
say? Yeah, at Marina Coast, and which I didn't know existed until a few weeks ago. And that was very very interesting to look at, to see what they want to restart, I guess. And the talks were very good. Dave's talk was excellent, really, really clear, so people could understand what was going on here. And there was also one with kind of a new design, experimental, for desalination, which was quite interesting. That's it.
Thank you. Well, I attended as well. I agree with everything that's been said. I got to see the Pure Water Monterey tour that facility. I hadn't seen it before, and it's very impressive. And we even got to see the unused capacity that is ready to receive the expansion, ready to be, you know, it's basically, it's got its platform and its space and its equipment is there waiting to be made operational. And it was a reminder that possibility is there, and that capacity is going unused until it becomes operational. So the sooner the better. And it's a really great project. And I just want to echo that Dave's presentation and Supervisor Adams' comments. Yeah, I think that our constituents can be proud of both of them. And it's a very, that was my first time attending one of these meetings of Aqua, and there's, you know, a lot of people who spend their professional lives in the water business. So it was a chance for me to learn inside conversations also. So it was very worthwhile. Any other reports? Director Edwards?
Thank you, Chair. Made a visit to Seaside City Council, talking a little bit about water and the Seaside Basin. Matter of fact, one of our citizens attended with me, Susan Sandoval, attended with me, and we talked about the Coastal Commission coming up over in Salinas, and we talked about water a little bit. What I want to do is say now, I want to thank the general manager for his report at the Seaside Basin, his letter that he sent over there, I believe it was October the 5th, but then another letter I seen was October the 7th of replying back to them about their 400 acre feet mistake that they made. I want to thank him for that. And this, I attended that meeting. And I think that's about all I got right now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Edwards. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to add that, as you can see here, Congressman Panetta was out at Pure Water Monterey on Friday.
Oh,
And that's Mike McCullough in the blue, the congressman in the middle, and Jose Guzman, who's operations over in the jacket. And it was just a chance to reflect on all the federal infrastructure spending that's taken place, and the fact that Pure Water Monterey brought down 30 million, 20 million for the base project and another 10 million for the expansion through the Bureau of Reclamation and the WIN Act. So, we continue to draw the attention of folks regionally and nationally.
Director Riley.
I would just like to add, Dave, that the fact that we're a public agency and the fact that we get some of these Bureau of Reclamation and other grants, because we're a public agency, we qualify for a number of low interest loans and grants to write down the infrastructure costs of new projects. And that's unique But I mean, it's unique because we're used to Cal-Am, which is a corporate structure, and we're a public structure, and we qualify and they don't. And that's another advantage, I think, of what public agencies can do. I just want to,
Yeah, in their defense,
yes.
they are qualifying more and more as the state shifts their thinking. And so there will be the potential for state revolving fund loans to investor and utility water providers, as well as under Prop 1, there were some desalination grants made available, of which, you know, if the desal project should move forward, there's a $10 million piece made available. Pales in comparison to the almost 60 million that we've managed to secure for Pure Water Monterey, but nevertheless, it's
I just hope you can keep us informed of just how that's progressing, that idea, because I have problems with it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Director Anderson.
I have a question. I can hear all of you really well, except for Dave. And I don't know, I've been trying to figure out if it's my ears or Dave, you seem very quiet. Can you turn up your, am I the only one?
No, I agree, Amy, same.
Hard to hear.
Yeah. I can hear him, but there's something a little bit off about the sound quality. Yeah.
There's a lot of disruption and interruptions. The sound is not as it used to be. I don't know why. There are pauses.
How about that?
Much better.
Much
Beautiful.
better. Yeah, you were sounding fuzzy.
Yeah, I know why. Somehow my drivers all switched over to the laptop. And so it was just listening to me through the cracks of the lid.
Thank you.
TMI.
I thought it was just the cracks of my ears. Thank you.
And there's one more that we can hear Dave on. Didn't Miss Hamilton get a award for something?
Well, she did, and we were very excited about that. And then John Lear got the same award. The district got the same award, and I think there may have been a fourth one. But yeah, they were we and Monterey One Water and some of the individuals who worked on Pure Water Monterey were rewarded from the federal government over assisting with base reuse. And helping with, a clearing of the unexploded ordnance and reuse in a timely fashion. So, and I know I've gotten that all wrong, but I see Marlena Brown is on. She probably doesn't even know about it, but
What?
Her government, the federal government did recognize the contributions of Pure Water Monterey to reuse of the Fort Ord facility. So, yeah.
Thank you.
If I may just jump in at our Mayor's Association meeting, first Friday of the month, I mentioned that my term will be expiring as an appointee to this board. And you all know I'm retiring, but I'll turn up somewhere. But anyway, the point is probably November, what is that, the 14th would be my last meeting. And I suggested to the Mayor's Select Committee, and that would be the 6 mayors in the district, they rotate the seat. I explained that it's not political, although in the past it has had some, at least political perception. I did explain that it's a board that has a significant budget that's very involved in delivering water, and I complimented you all as being extremely professional, a good board to be on. So we'll see if they would rotate it. For years, you had David Pendergrass. I think he was the mayor's for 20 years plus. Then Mayor Dave Potter did it. He was, of course, the 5th district representative for 20 plus years. And then he was the mayor's select, and he was very gracious about rotating it. So you will have a new mayor's representative at your first December meeting, I would guess. So I suggested to them that just rotate the seat, keep it non-political, and roll up your sleeves, because there's a lot of work to do, and it's a pretty complicated board, and I mean that in a good way.
Madam Chair, could I just comment? In the early In the early years, there was a rotation of the mayoral seat, as there was a rotation for the supervisorial seat because there were 2 supervisors that qualified. And during that period of time, there was an annual rotation.
That's interesting. Well, if you're going to bring up history, I'm way older than you, Dave, so I've got more history. But the water management district back in the day, it was a political football. You would get the quote pro-growth people elected to the board, and then the following session there'd be the no growth, controlled growth, whatever the optics was. And it went back and forth, back and forth. I'm very pleased at this point that it's a professional board, that everyone on the board realizes that they need to respond to the public and not a special interest. And with Measure J driving it at this point, it's understood that we want public ownership. And so, yes, I can remember back in the day, a number of people, including our good friend Lou Haddad. He was on the board for a while, and several other people I won't mention at this point.
Well, really appreciate the what you said to the mayor's group about our board and
Yes.
and the suggestions you made also to them. But why will you not be here for the December meeting?
For December,
Yes.
because the new mayor should be sworn in the first meeting of December.
That's great.
I'm retiring.
Yes, I
40
know that.
41 years on and off the city council, I figured it may be time to take a break. I don't know if you saw the Herald today. There was a
Yes.
picture of
Yes.
me and Julia Packard and Florence Williams cutting the ribbon to the aquarium.
Oh,
I
I
went,
haven't seen it. I'm gonna go. look at that.
wow.
That was 30 years ago. You almost look like a hippie.
Oh, hey, I had a big fluffy hairdo. Did you see that one?
Oh.
Yeah, but that was so much fun to see that in the Herald today. It's yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, enough of that. So onward and upward, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the rest of you? No. Okay. So we will miss you.
Thank you. I'll miss
Yes.
you all too.
Yes.
I'm glad we had you for, what is it, just 1 year? 1 year?
2 years.
Two.
Two.
2 years.
Yeah, but who's counting?
Apparently you are.
Now I can be a participant and call in with my fist. What are you thinking?
Yeah, you can criticize.
No, I won't.
You're free man. We will listen to anything you have to say.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I know you will.
You might have something to say that we should hear.
All right, appreciate that.
Now it appears that Michael Bear has his hand raised. I don't know if that was for previous
No. this is
comments
new.
or new comments.
Okay, let's take a look. Why don't we ask Michael what item he wishes to speak on?
Michael, you've been unmuted.
I first of all wanted to thank Clyde for getting involved with the water district. I think it's a great idea to have you guys rotate the seat. I appreciate your comments about how professional it is, because I haven't been in it nearly as long as you, but it was a different board 7, 8 years ago, and it was that. It was it divided the community between the hospitality industry and the citizens. And so I think it's a great idea. I was thinking, I think you misspoke. I think you have to show up in December too. My memory doesn't, but what it did was trigger the memory that I had with Clyde about how Mr. Potter got on the board, and there was some intrigue at the mayor's meeting in Pacific Grove that month. And I talked to Clyde on the phone privately during that period of time, and that just seems like a really long time ago.
I know.
That was 2 years ago, a little, or three. That was 3 years ago. And you've done a really nice, it's been great to have you on there, and thanks for working with the district and your city and coordinating them on this wonderful project of diverting the stormwater. That's fantastic. And then my final, I don't know where this comment fits in, and maybe it should have been public comment before, but it just occurred to me recently. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a simple question, and you can just make a note and answer it or not later
Go
on.
ahead.
Cal-Am says this is like a $326 million project, whatever the number is, 372 million, whatever it is. Those numbers are from 8 years ago or 10 years ago when they first did their, the very beginning. You guys have reassessed your numbers over and over again on both on the demand side and the acquisition side. You keep upgrading your numbers. It's taking so long, and you're being responsible. Cal-Am seems to say, well, we'll just go from they've spent so much on legal fees, but maybe we just go from a 6.4 to 4.8 and we'll charge the same amount and people won't notice. And then maybe we can build it later. I mean, I think before you go to the Coastal Commission, I've read a letter to Tom Luster, and I think you guys should too. Like, make Cal-Am give us some fresh numbers, because their numbers are 10 years old on what this thing's going to cost. Sorry, I don't.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, I thank
Yeah.
you for your comment. Technically, since that comment did not address one of the items on our agenda, really, for today, going forward, you should, if you want to speak to an item that's not on the agenda, please do it in the beginning of the meeting, okay?
Chair Paul, at this time, do you want to recognize any of the hands raised, or do you want to continue on?
Well, let's see. We are. I will ask all members of the public to try to to try to address the items, the agenda items, at the time that we address the agenda items, and if they have comments on other items that according to our procedures, we like to take those at the beginning of the meeting. But let's see ask Melody Crislock what item she wants to address, just to get that, so we don't cut her off. Let's ask her if she wants to address an item on the agenda.
Melody, your mic has been unmuted.
All I was going to say was thank you so much to Clyde. I mean, he brought that up out of the clear blue that he's going this meeting, and he's shown so much leadership on water. It's amazing. I mean, in 2019, he was the one that helped me draft that letter with all 28 electeds on there that went to the Coastal Commission, which had great impact. So thank you, Clyde. Amazing leadership. Thanks for standing up for what's right.
Thank you, Melody, and thank you, Michael. And you're right, Melody. This what Clyde just told us was it just came up, and you couldn't have known that it was going to be addressed earlier. So this is kind of an exceptional situation, and I appreciate your comments.
Chair, he's going to Clyde, Mayor, you're going to be at the November meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay, we can all say goodbye then. And
Well, that's nice. And
yeah,
keep it
oh
low
yeah,
key.
I hope so. Hey, you done served this community well, so I hope we have something for you. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I will be passing a GoFundMe account for our trip to Italy.
All right, but you got one more meeting. We can all say goodbye. All right.
That's right. Okay. Let's move on to our next, our action items, number 7 on our agenda.
Yeah, we'll start with item 7. And this is a fairly perfunctory item, not dissimilar to a resolution we voted on last month. The $4.8 million appropriation from the general fund in the fiscal 22-23 state budget. So under the the state's Budget Act of 2022, is being managed in a fashion that we need to do three things. Pass a resolution of the board seeking that money, fill out an online application to the State Revolving Fund, Division of Financial Assistance, actually, of the State Water Board, as well as write up a scope of the project to accompany that electronic application. So this would be the first of the three items that we need. And then we hope to get that application in the next couple of weeks to get it going. Ultimately, we hope to have a funding agreement in place around the first of the year, but it may not be final until late spring. They move slowly on these types of things, but this resolution is just simply part of the formal process to get at that money that we've already gotten approval for. And so
Thank you. Thank you for
recommending
preparing
adoption.
it.
Yeah.
Very good. And thank you for preparing that, for getting that done. Are there any questions or comments?
I just want to add, Dave, that I respect so much the staff strength in preparing grant applications. I think we've got you've got a great team that makes that happen. And just on the consent calendar earlier was an IRWMP grant, which is another, second point on the same type of issue. Anyway, I just appreciate it very much. I just want to make that point.
Well, and last month you approved a resolution, and that application for about 11 million went in. I think Maureen submitted it Monday morning today, I believe, or late Friday. So we got a lot of irons in the fire.
Great.
Director Anderson?
I recommend approving this resolution number 2022-30 and hope we'll get a second.
Oh, you got a second? Just,
Director Edwards, did you want to say something more?
yeah, Dave, just with these wells, we have what, 4 deep wells now?
Correct.
And the fifth one is going to be drilled by M1 Water?
Well, so all of them will be drilled, through the project. So two new ones are a separate bid package in the 2 packages that will be released to the street as soon as we have a signed water purchase agreement. So, but both wells will be owned by Monterey One Water, even though we went out and got the funding for this well specifically basically as a drought tool. That the SEIR originally envisioned only 1 additional well for the expansion, so 5 total deep wells. And what we learned from the first wells is don't be short of wells. So remember, we went from 2 to 4 pretty quickly. And we said, with lower demand in the early years, we're going to have the ability to inject a significant surplus of excess capacity of the expansion. What a great way to build up a drought reserve. So we submitted it in August of 2021 as a kind of a drought resilience concept, even though it provides redundancy and other good benefits to pure water expansion.
Now, my next question quickly is the 2 wells that Cal-Am just about to get approved by the PUC, are those extraction wells or the injection wells?
Yeah, those are extraction wells. So ultimately, this phase of pure water would bring 4 new expansion wells into play, 2 primarily for the expansion and 2 more for operational flexibility and redundancy. But they've clearly needed new or additional extraction capacity in the north end of the service area because of the switch to Pure Water Monterey and an ASR reserve and so forth. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from? Then let's take this agenda item out to the public.
Yes, so if you would like to make public comment on this matter, please raise your hand. Or if you're calling in, push *9.
No
Chair
hands.
Paul, I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. And we have a motion and a second. So if there's no discussion, we can vote.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Malik,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Director Riley,
Aye.
Director Roberson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Adams,
Aye.
Chair Paul,
Yes,
motion is adopted.
very good. And let's move on to our next item, the proposed resolution.
So item 8 is a proposed resolution confirming district permitting authority with respect to the product water being added to the water distribution system of California American Water. I have no pride of authorship since Dave Laredo heavily edited the resolution, and then we received a letter from an outside law firm complaining about the resolution. We'll throw this one over to Dave Laredo to carry the rest of the way through on this.
Certainly.
This just did come in late this afternoon, but quite frankly, I think a close reading of the letter, it doesn't find it to be surprising at all, and I don't see anything in this letter that should suggest as to why a change should be made to the proposed resolution. What the letter states is it wants to remind us that a part of the project that CalAM is proposing is going to be constructed outside of the district's boundaries and outside the jurisdiction. That the district's rules with respect to requiring permits for water distribution system applies to water and works within the district. The letter admits that the district does have permitting jurisdiction over components within the system, and it even reminds us all that the EIR for the Monterey Peninsula Water Supply Project does identify that one of the necessary permits will be a permit requiring this district's approval of an amendment to its water distribution system. But that what they're and the statement in the letter is, I quote, while approval of an amendment to a water distribution permit may be required prior to water supply project operation, the rules cannot be read so broadly to require approval for construction alone. At the same time, if the district would wait until a project is in fact built, I can hear the same law firm telling us that CalAM had detrimental reliance. They built a project in anticipation of delivering. My sense of what CalAM is proposing is they're proposing a water distribution system. It's going to start with a facility that's outside of the district, but it's going to be integrally linked to deliver water within the district. It doesn't have any customers other than within the district that would be using water from this project. So I believe that this is the time for this district to pass a resolution of this type. I want to point out to the board is that this resolution is a statement of position, a position of the board. There's not any enforcement provision. There's not any penalty provision. It basically enunciates the position that for CalAM to operate this system, to deliver water within the district, that it will need to do so only after it first acquires a permit from the district. And I do not suggest that you need any change to the language.
One clarification, one addition. There will be water delivered under the return water agreement, heavily subsidized in its manufacture, but delivered to honor the Agency Act on restrictions on export of Salinas Valley groundwater.
But not as an independent reason to operate the plant. It's
Exactly.
integrated as a whole, as part of a system for providing water to the district.
And then a clarification, our chair identified a couple of wording issues, and I was hopeful that you could bring those up right now.
Yeah, these are a couple of non-substantive corrections.
Yep.
Copy editing type. On the substance, I read the letter this afternoon. It acknowledges that the district's authority. Well, it really couldn't do otherwise, since the requirement of the district's permitting authority, as Dave Laredo just told us, is is documented or previously acknowledged. So, really, the argument is just we don't need this permitting to build, only to start operating. But what water utility would want to build before getting the permit? So I think it's very puzzling. Why would you want to build something and risk not getting the permit? So it seems to me as a practical matter, any normal business project, you would want the permits before you start putting more money into it. So that's my comment. And I accept the advice of counsel that this doesn't need any this resolution doesn't need any substantive changes. Yes, Director Riley.
Yeah, my reading of the letter this afternoon, in my mind, did not change the direction of the resolution that's presented. They did point out areas where they had some disagreements about it, but they ultimately agreed that we had the right to enforce the permitting process that exists on our books today. We didn't write new rules related to Cal-Am. We wrote rules related to the entire production system, and delivery system. And so there's nothing new to that. Even if it seems to me, I'm not trying to say we should change anything, but even if we were to acknowledge their objection to some phrases of the resolution, the basic resolution left over still leaves us with the permitting jurisdiction that exists. So their letter didn't change the conclusion of the resolution that we have before us.
And may I say this? When the planning commission over in Monterey County, when they wanted to build the building over there, they passed it. It ended up going to court over water rights. Why build a building and you don't have water rights to it? So that's one thing right there that I thought about in this too. Mr. Laredo, we're not taking a position, but when we put ads in the paper, like one in the Coast Weekly and the Carmel Pinecone, and it says no desal required, are we taking a position as a district?
I don't believe so. You're commenting on supply and demand and timing of needs. I don't believe you're acting. You don't have an application before you. Until you have an application, you cannot take a position on the application, but you can take a position as to, you are the water management district. What are the needs of this community, and what are the timing? What's the timing for those needs?
Okay. And another quick question. What's the difference in pure water Monterey and this desal water? It's in the basin now. They didn't have to go through the permitting authority. I just want to clear it up. What's the difference in that and why that happened?
Well, we have to look at the ownership of the water and the control of the water. Pure water, that water is owned by the district. It is injected by the district, and then there is a transfer of ownership, and it's accessed through existing facilities. What is being proposed is the importation of water owned by Cal-Am, and the importation of that water into a portion of it into the groundwater basin. And that is something that the legislature clearly says this district has to a permitting role when other people do that. The district, when it does it itself as a district-owned project, then permitting authority doesn't come into that. You have a proprietary interest in that.
Thank you.
I'd just like to remind anybody who is sort of coming into this conversation at this point, just remind everyone how this resolution came about, is because at a previous meeting, our general counsel pointed out that that the district has this permitting authority, but should provide CalAm and any other and public agencies notice of our intent or our ability to exercise that authority. Certainly with respect to CalAm, it's a matter of due process. So this resolution accomplishes the notice. Is that correct, General Counsel?
Yes,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. If this district did not make clear what its authority was, I could hear in some future time CalAm arguing that they acted, they made an investment, they relied upon the lack of permits, the lack of conditions. They did not contemplate that. I think what this is a clear statement to all that there will be a permitting process in this district. We'll look at the details of the proposal.
Very good. Thank you. Well, I support the resolution with the non-substantive corrections that we talked about, that we emailed about before the meeting. Is there a motion?
No. Well, I like to hear public comment. And then a motion come up.
Public comment first. Very
Oh,
well.
yes.
Okay, let's take it out to the public now.
Yes, so the board of directors welcomes your public input on this matter. Please raise your hand if you're using your electronic device, or if you're calling in, please be sure to push *9. And at this time, I would like to invite the caller ending in 312. And you may identify yourself for the clerk's record. And you've been unmuted.
Margaret Ann Copperall speaking. I applaud you for this resolution requiring a permit. There are so many concerns. I haven't had time to write anything down to make a coherent statement, but Director Edwards brought up the fact of the lack of water rights. CalAm has invaded another public waters jurisdiction without permission, is taking their water and not providing any water. But there have been so many discrepancies with the return water issue, with CalAm having placed its conductivity sensor low enough down on the pipe to avoid accurate measurement of how much fresh water is being extracted from the dune aquifers over there. There are two dunes, the perched and the dune, and the 180. So that's a concern. That coupled with the tampering of the data for the EIR, two different models that were submitted for approval to the CPUC. There are too many discrepancies and shenanigans going on with data tampering and measurements that and invading another jurisdiction without a permit. So I think that this really sets the stage to really have a correct and accurate and honest record on board for this whole situation. The Agency Act precludes taking that water out of the Salinas Valley Groundwater Basin and transporting it out of the area. So there are so many complications here. So I commend you. And I think General Counsel Laredo has done an outstanding job here, along with Dave Stoltz and the staff and the board and everybody, for taking all these issues into consideration here and giving it such importance as this resolution will provide. So thank you for letting me comment.
Thank you, Margaret Ann.
And at this time, I would like to invite Susan Schiavone. Susan, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Thank you, Joelle. I totally support this. The district needs to be proactive. CalAm has very, let's say, entitled attitude about building this desal plant and making assumptions about what will happen for it. And I think the district does need to protect itself and to meet its responsibility to the community and its own existence, and to assert its rights in the situation. And I'd just like to add that Alvin, I was with Alvin the other night, and my last name is Schiavone. So anyway, thank you very much for doing this, and it is protective and it does need to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan.
Chair Paul, I see no raised hand, so I return this back to the board.
Thank you, Joelle. Are there any comments on the motion?
Chair Paul, if we can we recognize one more speaker who wishes to make public comment? The hand raised at the last minute.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Yes, let's let that caller speak.
Okay.
Oh, we have two.
Yes.
I'll let them both speak.
And at this time, I would like to invite Eric Tynan. Eric, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Thanks a lot for letting me speak at this meeting. I just want to let Peninsula Management District know that they're taking the water for CSIP and sending it over to Peninsula for recycle. And they're using the wells, the supplemental wells around Castroville to make up for the flow. Our wells are almost 100 feet below sea level. It's sucking the water in like crazy. And CSIP, the farmers are doing it because they aren't getting the water from CSIP. So this is creating the recycled water may be great for the peninsula, but it's terrible for us. And we love to help our neighbors, but the three-legged stool was the answer. And this is Mr. Maloney and Chris Locke. It's fine. Carmel isn't even a member of Monterey One. It'll benefit from this. Well, it sends its water over to the peninsula for over to the golf courses. This is hardly fair. Castro is a severely disadvantaged community. We're doing best we can. We cut our water use by 25% since 2000. One of our wells just went salty. The seawater intrusions within 1,800 feet of my remaining wells, the deep wells around here are 99 degrees and have arsenic in. So it's all fine and dandy. There's some of these folks with public water now and everything. One of them, she uses 4 times more water than an average single family resident. She's one of the biggest proponents of this. Meanwhile, Castroville, half the lawns are dead. We don't, we don't have pools. We don't have water fountains, but we have if you actually count how many people live in these houses, we have lower per capita rate of water use than the peninsula. Anyways, I just like to point out that what this recycled water is killing Castroville. And it was supposed to help, and it's not. So, but you had something?
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. Have you finished your comment?
I think you guys got the idea. So yeah, that's fine.
All right. Okay, thank you. So 2 things. One is let's avoid personal attacks when let's address the issues and avoid personal attacks when we discuss anything at these meetings. And then I would like to invite General Manager Dave Stoll to, if you'd like to respond to some of those comments that struck me as factually inaccurate.
Well, yeah.
Not to interrupt you, General Manager. Can we finish with public comment first? We still got 3 names up here, and then we can have at it.
We can do it that way.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, at this time, I would like to invite Michael Baer. Michael, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to apologize for speaking out of order last time. I understand.
No problem.
I understand the rules, and it was a breach, and I've learned from it. So just, I'm sorry for that. And then related to the item before us, I support the resolution 100%. And I think it's an example of a responsible public agency acting, transparently and on our behalf. So great resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and at this time, I would like to invite Melody Chrislock. Melody, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Melody Chrislock. I'm afraid that Mr. Tynan doesn't really know the truth here. I have talked to Paul Shudo. The Pure Water Monterey project does not take water from CSIP. The problem is that CSIP is using 15 to 25% more water than it's ever used in its 23-year history. Average, it's way up because of the drought. And there's only so much wastewater that's going out there. So, you know, this idea that Pure Water Monterey is responsible for the farmers' problem is just completely inaccurate. It's the farmers that are going to have to figure out what they're going to do. There is only so much wastewater. Anyway, just to set the record straight, because I checked this out myself because I was curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody.
Yes, and at this time, I would like to invite Anna Thompson. Anna, when you're ready, please present your comment.
Yes, I wanted to thank you all for this proactive recommendation that we needed. And I really recommend the approval of this resolution. Kalem has been abusing their power and imposing a desalination plant that we do not need, and it's going to create many problems for Marina, and it's a very costly desalination plant. So thank you for your proactive work. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Anna.
And Chair Paul, I see no raised hands, so I return this back to the board.
Thank you, Joel. So, where are we? Do we have a motion?
Well, he was going to let the general manager answer some comments out there
You are right.
before I interrupt you. Now I'm going to put you
Yeah,
back on track.
yeah, I thank you for reminding me. I think that would be a good idea, if you
That's
don't
all
mind, Dave
Want to
Stoll.
get it over with.
Yeah,
Thank
you know, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. Actually, Melody Crislock did somewhat answer the question correctly. What the impact on CSIP is, it's the reverse of taking water from CSIP. It's using water that others have been entitled to for a long, long time, that CSIP had the luxury of enjoying for years and years. So Marina Coast Water District has a specific allocation of wastewater for their own purposes, as does also Monterey One Water. And those allocations, if you will, have not been taken until now. Now there's a project. So for, you know, basically 24 years, that water has been available for others to use, but it's not taking it away from them. It's ending the luxury of having that additional water without a clear right to it. So we'll leave it at that. There's other things we can talk about under the return water agreement, and the need for desal water subsidized by the peninsula to meet that need, or are there other ways to do wellhead treatment that's cheaper with less subsidy? I mean, there's a whole rash of issues we could talk about.
Maybe we could have a presentation on this at a future meeting.
Could try that.
Just so that everyone involved really has a better understanding of those issues of taking versus giving, and how the Pure Water Monterey project affects Castroville.
Sure.
And that area. Yeah. Be helpful.
I'll move approval of the resolution, subject to kind of some kind of grammatical corrections or changes. I think there was a couple of comments online that line, and then I have a comment to make later.
And I'll second that so you can make your comment.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the grammatical changes are in the third item under therefore be it resolved. And you're right, there were a couple words missing and commas misplaced, and it's already been cleaned up.
So, and
Thank you.
I have one that I want to submit. Maybe other people have submitted it too, but I'll let you know, Dave.
All right, send them away.
And quickly on the second, I'm glad we're doing this. We need to go on record on our responsibility to this community. It's water coming in, even though we've been speaking sort of like another way of denial, but we got supply and demand to look at. But I appreciate the general counsel and general manager for putting this together. And now it will go out to all those agencies out there that know that we have a voice in this. So I move approval on that second.
Or you seconded the
I seconded it,
motion,
but I'm
right?
moving it.
Yeah.
But, and if I could
Director Riley.
just comment on the motion, I just want to make sure that the record, the minutes or whatever, cover the fact that we considered the letter that we got this afternoon from Cal-Am's attorney in the discussion about going forward with this resolution.
Very good point. Anything else? Further discussion? Okay, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Director Riley,
Aye.
Director Roberson,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Director Mallett, Director Anderson.
Yes.
Director Anderson. You're muted.
Yes.
Vice Chair Adams,
Aye.
Chair Paul,
Yes,
the motion is adopted.
very good, and unanimously. Thanks again, both
Thank you.
Dave, for your work on this, and to all the directors. Are there any questions or comments on the informational items or letters, other letters received or sent? Or anything, any comments you want to make, Dave Stoltz, about any of the letters sent?
No, I think that I would advise members of the public to look at letters received regularly, because we're finding a lot of correspondence flying back and forth lately. So we'll do our best to get them in there so that people can see what's going on, because not everybody's on a distribution list. It's typically a appointed distribution list, but I know there's many members of the public who are interested. So.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very good point. Any other comments? Then we are adjourned. And
Good
thanks
meeting.
again to
Have a
all
good week.
staff